Hi everyone, myself Satyashree. I would like to explain about an anti-inflammatory agents. This is very important topic under 5th unit according to PCI regulation for second B Farm students. And coming to the introduction, anti-inflammatory agents are majorly used to reduce an inflammation or swelling. Such agents we can name it as anti-inflammatory agents. So these anti-inflammatory agents, also known as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, simply known as NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They can elevate the pain by counteracting the cyclooxygenase enzyme. This is the enzyme responsible for pain stimulus. So what the drugs do is they can inhibit the cyclooxygenase enzyme. Finally, we can relieve from the pain as well as swelling. So these NSAIDs are members of a drug class that reduces pain, nothing but they causes an analgesia effect. They can reduces the fever, nothing but antipyretic. They prevent blood clots, and in higher doses they decreases an inflammation. So majorly produce analgesia, antipyretic as well as anti-inflammatory actions we are observed with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And next is the classification. How the anti-inflammatory drugs are classified. Based on the chemical structure, they are majorly classified into 6 classes. So first class of drugs are salicylates. Salicylates, 2 examples, sodium salicylate and aspirin. Second one is N-aryl anthralinic acid derivatives. They are simply known as phenamic acid derivatives or phenamates. And examples are mefenamic acid, meclofenamic acid. And third one is para-aminophenol derivatives. Example is acetaminophen, commonly known as an paracetamol. Another drug is phenacetin. And fourth class of compounds are pyrazolone derivatives. They are again classified into 2 types depending on number of ketones. If one ketone is there at 5th position, we can name it as 5-pyrazolone derivatives. The example is antipyrine, also known as phenazone. And second class is 3,5-pyrazolidinedione derivative. Itself indicates the ketones are present at 3rd as well as 5th position. The example is phenylbutazone. Pyrazolone derivatives 5-pyrazolone and 3,5-pyrazolidinedione derivatives. Fifth class of compounds are oxycam derivatives. The example of oxycam derivative is piroxicam. And next is last class is aryl acetic acid derivatives. These aryl acetic acid derivatives again classified into 2 types depending upon the type of acid. First one is phenyl acetic acid derivatives. The examples are diclofenac, indomethacin, sulindac, tolmetin, jumipirac, ketorolac. These are the examples of an phenyl acetic acid derivatives. And next one is phenyl propionic acid derivatives, simply known as profens. At the suffix we are getting an profens. Example is ibuprofen, another one is naproxen. So all these are comes into the category of classification of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Then go with the individual class. The first class of compounds are salicylates. So in case of salicylates, the salicylic acid is isolated from salicin, which is present in willow bark, which is discovered by a scientist known as Hippocrates. According to Hippocrates, he prescribed chewing willow bark for pain relief. Later on, scientists identified that what is the active ingredient in willow bark is nothing but salicin. So their salicin structure they isolated further by various chemists, and they have identified that it is an salicylic acid derivative. Then this is the structure of salicylic acid. Then other scientists go with the modification of this carboxylic group as well as hydroxy groups to get different types of salicylates. The example of drugs under salicylates are methyl salicylate. It is an ester form. At the carboxylic group, it is an methyl ester. And next one is acetyl salicylic acid. The name itself indicates that it is a free in acidic form, but we have to attach the acetyl group at hydroxy position. Instead of OH, it consisting of OCOCH. That is nothing but an aspirin. Another important point in aspirin is it comes into the category of irreversible COX inhibitor. This is very important for an entrance examination. It is an irreversible COX inhibitor. That is about the structures of methyl salicylate and acetyl salicylic acid, also known as aspirin. Next, coming to the uses. The major uses are antipyretic as well as analgesic. It is also used in acute rheumatic fever and in myocardial infarction, and also used as keratolytic agent. Coming to the side effects, the major side effects are gastroduodenal bleeding, gastric ulceration, dyspepsia. These are the common side effects we are observed with all the types of NSAIDs because all are acidic in character. They produces a gastric ulceration and gastroduodenal bleeding, dyspepsia, etc. One of the major side effects associated with the usage of aspirin is Reyes syndrome. What is Reyes syndrome is fatty liver, swelling of the brain as well as seizures are most commonly observed symptoms in Reyes syndrome. So, aspirin is completely banned in children under 12 years. So, that is important. It is completely banned in children under 12 years. What is the major side effect of aspirin? Nothing but Reyes syndrome. That is about an aspirin. And coming to the second class of compounds are N-aryl anthralinic acid derivatives. So what is anthralinic acid? This is the structure of anthralinic acid. We already studied in the previous part about salicylic acid. It consisting of carboxylic and OH is nothing but salicylic acid. Instead of OH it possesses NH2, it gives an anthralinic acid. So in this N-aryl, nothing but for this nitrogen we have to attach an aryl group to give an L-aryl anthralinic acid derivatives. The two example of drugs are mefenamic acid and meclofenamic acid. So this is the structure of anthralinic acid. For this structure we have to attach a dimethyl benzene to give an mefenamic acid. Phenamic acid derivatives are simply known as phenamates. Mefenamic, it possesses methyl functional groups. Next one is an meclofenamic acid. Methyl, Me for methyl, meclo, it consisting of an chlorine. Methyl and chlorine is substituted at the respective positions, it gives an meclofenamic acid. And coming to the various parameters of mefenamic acid are, it produces analgesia centrally as well as peripherally, used for short-term relief of moderate pain and for primary dysmenorrhea. Mefenamic acid is most commonly used as an menthol plus. It is used to reduce the pain in primary dysmenorrhea. And coming to the meclofenamic acid, the uses are, it is used to reduce the pain in rheumatoid arthritis as well as in osteoarthritis, and also used to reduce the pain in primary dysmenorrhea and used for idiopathic and heavy menstrual blood loss. These are the some of the uses of meclofenamic acid. And next one is third class of compounds, para-aminophenol derivatives. So para-aminophenol derivatives are nothing but two examples are there. One is paracetamol. So paracetamol also known as acetaminophen. The acetyl group is attached to amine functional group of phenol. It gives an acetaminophen. So phenol is the basic structure. At the para position we have to attach an acetamino group. It gives an paracetamol. So the major side effect we are observed with the paracetamol is it causes liver toxicity. Why it causes liver toxicity is by the over usage of paracetamol in overdoses, it releases one toxic metabolite in liver that is named as N-acetyl-imidoquinone. The N-acetyl-imidoquinone is hepatotoxic metabolite which is released in the liver cells and covalently bind with the liver cells, and it causes liver toxicity. This is very important for entrance exams like GPAT and PG set. So what is the toxic metabolite produced by paracetamol is N-acetyl imidoquinone. Next one is an phenacetin. So same structure with paracetamol, but the difference is here it consisting of hydroxy, it possesses an ethoxy. That is the only structural difference between paracetamol and phenacetin. The phenacetin, the major side effect is it causes kidney damage. That is about an para-aminophenol derivatives. And fourth class of compounds are pyrazolone derivatives. So what is pyrazolone derivatives is again classified into two classes depending upon the number of ketones. What is pyrazole is nothing but, so this is the structure of a pyrazole. Pyrrole with another nitrogen at adjacent position, it gives an pyrazole. In this pyrazole, it possesses an methyl functional group at second and third position as ketone at fifth position. That's why we can name it as an 5-pyrazolone derivative. This is the 5-pyrazolone structure and it is substituted at the first position with the phenyl, at the second and third position with an phenyl. Methyl is nothing but an antipyrine, also known as phenazone. So major side effect associated with this phenazone or antipyrine is nothing but hematological toxicity. And next class of compounds are 3,5-pyrazolidine dione derivatives. The example for 3,5-pyrazolidine dione derivatives is phenylbutazone. So same structure, but the difference is just at the fifth position it possesses ketone, at third and fifth position it possesses, and this is the third position, this is the fifth position. It consisting of ketone. At the fourth position it consists of butyl. At the first and second position consisting of phenyl. So it name it as an phenylbutazone. Phenyl as well as butyl groups are processes at fourth as well as first and second position. It gives an phenylbutazone. That is about pyrazolone derivatives, antipyrine and phenylbutazone. And next in fifth class is oxycam derivatives. These oxycam derivatives, also known as enolic acid derivatives or enolic acid class of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So what is the basic structure is, it consisting of benzothiazine, and coming to first observe the structure and observe the numbering first. Sulfur first, nitrogen second, third and fourth position. At the fourth position it possesses hydroxy. At the first position, so if it does not possess sulfur and nitrogen, simply we can name this one as an benzene. In the structure of benzene, at the first and second position it possesses sulfur and nitrogen, so we can name it as 1, 2 benzothiazine. And at the third position it possesses an carboxamide. So what is the other name for oxycam derivative? Chemical name is 4-hydroxy, 1, 2 benzothiazine, 3 carboxamide. That is the chemical name of an oxycam derivatives. So the example of oxycam derivative is pyroxycam. This is the structure. So basic structure, it consisting of an pyridine. At carboxamide group, one of the hydrogen is replaced with pyridine. At the second position it possesses methyl, and the remaining structure is common for all oxycam derivatives. And it is synthesized by ring expansion reactions of saccharin derivatives, and it possesses an extended plasma half-life is about 38 hours. And it is indicated for the long-term use in rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis to reduce the pain. In that conditions, it is used in rheumatoid arthritis and in osteoarthritis. That is about an pyroxycam. Next and last class is aryl acetic acid derivatives. Aryl acetic acid derivatives again classified into two types. One is phenyl acetic acid derivatives. The example of molecules are nothing but diclofenac. This is the structure of diclofenac. It possesses an phenyl ring with CH2COOH, nothing but acetic acid. At the second position it possesses an NH2 as well as an diclo. It consisting of 2 chlorines. This is the structure of diclofenac. And next one is an indomethacin. Indomethacin, it is a derivative of indole. This is the indole. Benzene with pyrrole, we can name it as indole. Acetic acid derivative is nothing but indomethacin. And next one is Sulindac. It is also a similar as like that of indole, but it does not possess an nitrogen here. It just possesses an cyclopentane ring. Along with this one, instead of methoxy, it possesses an fluorine. And some differences are there in the structures between indomethacin as well as a Sulindac. That is about diclofenac, indomethacin and Sulindac. And next one is an tolmetine. So tolmetine and jomipirac both comes under the category of an pyrrole acetic acid derivatives. This is the structure of pyrrole. 5-membered ring with 1 nitrogen, we can name it as an pyrrole acetic acid derivatives. We can also name it as methyl pyrrole acetic acid derivatives. This is the structure of tolmetine. And jomipirac, it also consisting of this is an methyl pyrrole acetic acid and also possesses this structure. So what is the structural difference between an tolmetine and jomipirac? Is nothing but, so the structure is almost same, but here para position methyl is substituted, but here chlorine is substituted. Along with the one more excess methyl functional group is there. That is only the difference. Remaining structure is same between tolmetine and jomipirac. And last one is ketorolac. It is an also an pyrrole acetic acid, but acetic acid is not free here, so not free CH2 group. It is in within the ring system. So that is nothing but the structure of ketorolac. That is about an phenyl acetic acid derivatives. Last and final one is phenyl propionic acid derivatives, also named as profans. First drug is ibuprofen. This is the structure of ibuprofen. Phenyl ring with propionic acid. 1, 2, 3 carbon atoms with acidic group, propionic acid. Ibuprofen is nothing but an isobutyl group. This is the isobutyl phenyl. Propionic acid is nothing but ibuprofen. Next one is naproxen. It consisting of naphthalene as well as here propionic acid with methoxy substituted is nothing but a naproxen. Both are comes in the category of phenyl propionic acid derivatives. So coming to the mechanism of action of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Observe this flowchart. This flowchart indicates the sequence of steps involved in the formation of an inflammation as well as an pain. So what happens is, so whenever we are observing rupture in the cell membrane or there is a activation of an one enzyme, nothing but phospholipase A2. So what is the membrane lipid? Phosphatidyl inositol is the membrane lipid which is located in cell membrane, which whenever it undergoes rupture, there is activation of phospholipase A2 enzyme. Lipase is involved in the breakdown of this lipid and finally converted into arachidonic acid, which is a 20 carbon atom containing acid, nothing but arachidonic acid. The formed arachidonic acid, after synthesis, it undergoes a metabolism by 2 pathways. One is lipooxygenase pathway. So nothing but there is utilization of lipooxygenase enzyme, and second enzyme involved in cyclooxygenase pathway. So how many pathways are there in arachidonic acid metabolism? Lipooxygenase pathway, and the one is cyclooxygenase pathway. So no need to worry about lipooxygenase pathway. It is not useful in the mechanism of NSAIDs. So just focus on cyclooxygenase pathway. So what is cyclooxygenase pathway? Arachidonic acid is converted into prostaglandins. Just remember about prostaglandins. So what happens? The arachidonic acid in the presence of cyclooxygenase enzymes converted into endoperoxides, nothing but prostaglandins. Here the PG indicates the prostaglandins. What are the two prostaglandins synthesized? Prostaglandin G2 and the one is prostaglandin H2. So this conversion generally occurred in the presence of two types of cyclooxygenase enzymes. One is cyclooxygenase 1. Cyclooxygenase simply known as COX1 and the one is a COX2. By the presence of these two enzymes, the arachidonic acid is converted into prostaglandin G2 and prostaglandin H2. So what is the difference between these two enzymes is the COX1 is normally synthesized in our body during physiologic stimulus. Whereas whenever we are observing an inflammation, then nothing but in pathological conditions only there is only release of an COX-2. And finally, there is a conversion of prostaglandin G2 and H2. After synthesis, these molecules in the presence of 4 set of enzymes again convert into 4 different molecules. So, in the presence of prostacyclin synthetase, convert into prostacyclin, also known as PGI2, nothing but prostaglandin I2. In the presence of isomerase, convert into prostaglandin E2 and D2. In the presence of reductase, convert into prostaglandin F2 alpha. In the presence of thromboxane synthetase, convert into thromboxane A2. So these are the final products we are getting by cyclooxygenase pathway. So what is the effect observed after the production of these components are, whenever there is a release of prostaglandin I2, we observe there is a decrease in platelet aggregation as well as decrease in vasodilation as well as uterine tone. These are the consequences we are observed whenever there is a release of prostaglandin I2. So in case of prostaglandin E2 and D2, there is a decrease in vascular tone, there is an increase in pain at that particular region, and increase in uterine tone as increase in body temperature. So pain and temperature are majorly increased due to the release of prostaglandin E2 as well as D2. And next one is prostaglandin F2 alpha. So it is useful for labor induction as well as used as abortifacient agent. And last one is thromboxane A2. It plays a very important role, that is increase in the platelet aggregation, and it causes an vasoconstriction. So whenever we have to observe the vasoconstriction, so there is increase in the pain at that particular region. So these are the consequences were observed whenever there is activation of cyclooxygenase enzyme. So whenever we have to feel an pain or analgesia, pain as well as an fever because of the release of these factors. So these type of prostaglandins elevate the pain or elevate in temperature or increases an inflammation. So what is our target is, so the enzyme which is responsible for pain stimulus, we have to inhibit this pathway. Cyclooxygenase pathway we have to block. How to block this one? By uses of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like an aspirin, acetaminophen, whatever the 6 classes we are studied, all the 6 classes inhibit either COX-1 or maybe COX-2. If this is inhibited completely, it blocked the pathway, right? So only there is a arachidonic acid. There is no further conversion of arachidonic acid into prostaglandins. If the prostaglandins are not there, automatically we are not feel the pain, fever as well as an inflammation. So our target of NSAIDs is inhibit cyclooxygenase enzymes, nothing but COX inhibitors. So which enzyme is inhibited by anti-inflammatory drugs? Nothing but an COX. What is COX? Is cyclooxygenase enzyme which prevent the conversion of arachidonic acid into endoperoxides. So another point here is various non-selective cyclooxygenase inhibitors are there. All those inhibit either COX-1 or COX-2. But selectively we have to inhibit an COX-2 by uses of celecoxib, reficoxib. Selective COX-2 inhibitors are available in market. So those can inhibit only cyclooxygenase 2 in pathological conditions. So why it is important is, in physiological stimulus, COX-1 is responsible for an protection of GIT. So that is the major use of an COX-1. So if you are inhibiting COX-1, automatically the protective layer of your GIT is disturbed, and finally we have to observe a gastric ulceration. So always we have to target is nothing but cyclooxygenase 2. Specific COX-2 inhibitors are more useful nowadays, so as a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. That is the major mechanism of action of anti-inflammatory agents. Thank you one and all for your attention. Hope you understand this topic well. Thank you.